Manchester United, I've been at 5 of their last 6 games. I watched yesterday's on TV. It was the first one in the month that I haven't been to. But it was a familiar story for me. There is a hesitancy with when they've got the ball. There is a slowness to react when they haven't got the ball. They lack goals. They make bad decisions. You tell me, is it a lack of confidence in the system that they're playing so that there's doubt in the head? Or is it a lack of quality? Or maybe even a lack of physical fitness? Because I was at the game with Bournemouth, Wolves, Spurs, Victoria Pilsen. They look slow. They look less dynamic. They look indecisive. They look different to those teams in terms of their physical level. The only team that looked on a similar physical level to Manchester United were Manchester City, and they're going through their worst moment in 20 years.
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on what it is. I think there's so much change, so much upheaval that I like what the manager's done. I'll just look from a manager's lens. I think he's handled every situation really well. Not said anything out of turn. Handled the Rashford circus that's going on really well. I also think at the moment he's showing everyone just how bad this squad is for what he needs. Some would say you need to, our friend had a change of heart again, didn't he? But last time with Eric Ten Hag, it was Ten Hag hasn't got a clue. We don't know what we're doing. Now we've got a system manager that has a system and playing it. Now the players can't do it, so we need to change the system. So I've
not said we need to change the system.
So I just think it's a case of he has to try and stem the bleeding until January. Where City are looking to get 3 or 4 in, they have to get 3 or 4 out. And I take your point earlier, Sam, when you were talking about some of these kids for the youth team will have to step up because they're easier to mould to what you want, and the youthful legs, etc., will play into their hands.
Yeah, the conversation was going that they need so many new faces, I think, and they need a whole different outlook that to refresh that dressing room, they're not going to be able to afford to do it quickly. So I think there will be some. They've got to the Youth Cup final recently, and they've had a relatively good period with some good younger players. Harry and Mass, Toby Collier have come through the ranks recently. Ethan Wheatley's got a lot of goals in the under-18s and 20s. And I wonder whether or not some of those players will find themselves in the first team squad as they look to try and mould a unit that works to Ruben Amorim's system.
Well, they couldn't do any worse, could they, than the current incumbents? I mean, you asked the question, what's gone wrong? Is it mentality? Is it fitness? Is it ability to play in this system? They're just useless to a man. They're just rubbish. This is the worst Manchester United team in a generation. The stadium is falling apart. The owners are trying to fleece the fans at every time by putting up ticket prices to watch Anthony toil. I mean, there's never been arguably a worse time to be a Manchester United fan, maybe since they got relegated in the 70s. The only good thing the club have got is their history, because the present day is absolutely turgid, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon.
The back page of the Times today, it says, the headline is, Amorim, survival is our aim. It goes on to say that he has no idea how long it will take for him to impress his ideas upon Manchester United, and that the team's focus must be on survival. He said he was the first United head coach to lose as many as 5 of his first 10 matches in charge of the club since Walter Crickmer in January 1932.
Wow.
Instead of me trying to understand how much time it will take, it's just day by day improving, trying to see the videos and use every minute of training and try to win some points, because it's really important. And in this moment, we just have to survive and to win sometimes to work on the team. We already knew it. I start this job and I start with the team. The new idea of no time to train, a lot of games, tough games. It's a long journey. We have to continue to fight these bad moments, because this is part of football. Do you think that he thought when he walked in the door he'd have more time to work with the players?
I don't think a lot of the lads who come from different countries realise just how intense the Premier League is, and then the Christmas schedule. So I totally get his point about lack of training. They're playing every 3-4 days. It's basically rest, recover, go again, and he's trying to get the bit of coaching sessions in that he can. My concern is I think their time's been spread, so they're trying to work on set pieces in before warm-ups. Don't think that helps at all. Again,
is it too much information?
I think they're trying to work on too many things at one time.
I think they're making excuses for just a garbage group of players.
No, I've never said this team's any good.
Hold on,
if anything, you were the one who defended them over the course
They
of the
are.
season.
They're not garbage.
They are.
You can't. You're telling me that players that have got to European Championship finals, people who, like Bruno Fernandes, who have kept Manchester United going over the course of the last few years, people who have got to Champions League
but he's got himself
finals are
sent off
rubbish.
3
They're not
times
rubbish.
this season.
Well, yeah, one of those was rescinded, so let's not go over.
Yeah,
the top.
but we
It was twice.
were at the game where it got rescinded, and we both felt at the time, well, he probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, he shouldn't be doing it. It's true.
But the point is, I'm not talking about that. We're talking pure. I'm purely looking at it from what the new managers come in. From what Sam asked the question of how is he doing? Where's he going? When you're doing set pieces the day of a game, it's not a good.
No.
It's not a good look because you're still trying to drip feed information in just before.
But is that because he hasn't got any time on the training ground?
Yeah, at the moment, the amount of games that they've got. Secondly, I would say from a goalkeeping point of view, that's the same goal now that's gone in back-to-back weeks.
That's because both goalkeepers are useless.
And it's different goalies.
Different goalies, though.
But he's made so many mistakes, Onana, since he came to the football club. But they can't drop him because they played the number 2, and he was even worse.
But also at the same time, though, mate, he was doing okay.
He was doing okay.
He was
This
doing
is
okay.
Manchester United. You can't be doing okay.
But remember at the
It'd be
start.
good to be doing okay.
But
Wouldn't
remember
it?
at the start of the
Right
season
now?
when I said, you'd take finishing in the top 8, and you battered me for it. Do you remember?
I don't remember that.
Of course he doesn't. All right,
I said you'd.
I didn't see it.
I said a good season for Man U at this moment in time with the squad, with the amount of change that they need, top 8 would be good. He battered me for it.
But again, this
you can't
comes
say
down.
that we are Man United, and you've just said though. Sorry to interrupt you. You
Yeah.
just said the only thing that Man United have got is their history. And now when we start talking about the players that they currently got, he goes, they're garbage because they're not as good as what we used to have. So that's the problem with the fan base and the club itself.
Actually, problem with recruitment.
Hold on,
It's
I
a
said
problem
the
with
first
the
thing is
recruitment.
the fan base has been brilliant, right?
No, I mean,
I
you're
think
still
the fan
thinking,
base has been
I agree, but I'm
superb
on
in
about you're
comparison
still
to what you
thinking back to
could
what
have
it
been
was.
like with a situation that has developed here, because they've stuck, especially the away
yeah.
fans have been terrific.
But there's a lot of United fans who've had enough. They've had enough of this group
I
of
was
players.
in Pilsen with them, and I was I'm in the toilet at the bar having a chat with them afterwards, and they're all saying, oh, I just can't believe it. Can't believe how bad it was. They won the game, but it was a bad performance,
Sam,
because
my
performances
point
haven't
is
been good
more
enough.
that they keep looking back as to what we used to have, as opposed to being where we are now. Is my point from a fan base point of view. It's not a case of this squad is what we've got. Is it any good or is it bad? It's like that midfielder's not as good as Roy Keane, or that midfielder's not as good as David Beckham. It's like those times are gone, unfortunately.
Mate, if John O'Shea played for this team, he'd be the best player.
Ignore the system argument, says one text. This is James in Isleworth. This needs a churn of at least 10 players, never mind big clubs. Look at the supposed mid-table sides and see the best players versus ours. Robinson, the Fulham left-back, beats anything we've got. Semenyo at Bournemouth, Cunha, Ilanga Sale decision versus Anthony, Gibbs, White, Murillo, Matoma, countless players that are way better. And it's interesting, right? Because we were talking about this on Sunday when I was at the Bournemouth game. I was doing the Sunday session from Old Trafford, and I was saying, look at Bournemouth's team. Look at the way that they've recruited their players. Milos Kerkez gets in to this Manchester United team. That centre-half, Dean Housen, gets into the Manchester United team. The difference, and Scott Minto pointed this out on the Premier League All Access podcast, is but when you put them in a Manchester United shirt, there's a very different feeling of pressure and expectation, which you need a certain personality to cope with.
Would that's the part I was just about to get to, and I'm glad Scott said that, because if you'd have said, a month before Harry Maguire moved to Man United, he's available, you'd have had a lot of players. I mean, a lot of clubs wanting to take that player, right? Man City put a bid in, and United ultimately paid loads of money for him. The second he goes there, he's rubbish now, he's crap. It's like, no, there's just a big weight of expectation. You're the team that has to go and take people on. You're the team that has most of the ball. And if you get found defending 1v1, it's harder. And I think that a lot of the players that were said there, Cunha and Semenyo, they're good players for the level that they're at. They're not going to go into Man United and turn them into what you want them to be, for example.
Arteta changed our culture in 2 windows, get rid of all the dead wood. Now we're back to challenging, says one texter. Why is there always an assumption that teams like Manchester United deserve to be successful based on history? They're obsessed with Fergie time, yet this was a new generation. It was a generation ago. They have to earn success on and off the pitch like every other team. That's totally true, by the way.
I agree.
The clubs that are run the best are now reaping the rewards of that. Look at the table. Look at the teams that are doing the best. They're the teams that are probably run the best. Don't forget Arteta's first season. They went as low as 12th, and although he hasn't won, they have been challengers, says Dale. the sooner Manchester United accept they're a mid-table club at the moment, the quicker they will start to improve. All these short-term fixes, trying to show them 1 or 2 players for big money to fix all the problems won't work. We saw exactly the same with Liverpool when they went back to basics under Dalglish and Hodgson. It laid the foundations for a real rebuild, and look where they are now. And then there's this discussion about the system, right? So why are we questioning the system when Wolves played the same formation, outplayed all of our players?
Well, I think he addressed that, didn't he, in the press conference afterwards. He was asked by a journalist, how come Vitor Pereira's got his method across in the system for 2 games and you're struggling? And he said, well, the Wolves squad is built to play that system. They played a back 3 under Gary O'Neill. What I would say, to use Troy's famous quote, he's got kahunas, in my opinion, the manager.
He communicates
He's
well.
showing that. No, but he's got kahunas taking the job because I don't think he's a stupid man. I think he knew how many problems there were at United. I think he knew exactly what he was inheriting, and he's determined to fix it and to fix it his way, knowing that his reputation is being damaged at the moment, week in, week out, by these defeats. But he's willing to take that on the chin
but he doesn't
for
think
the
his
long-term
reputation
goal.
is being damaged because he's not one of these that buys into short-term. He knows this is a long-term fix. He's coming. He said this is a long-term fix.
No, but there are fans already saying, oh, you know, why did they get rid of Ten Hag? You know,
they're calling
Amorim's
him
not made a difference.
Ruben interim.
Exactly.
But that's just banter. That's just fans having banter. That's not like, if you're a football club and you run based on someone saying something on social media, then you're in a bad place, and you'll make changes every 2 minutes.
Don't underestimate or overestimate the people in power at United. Ineos have been there a year. I don't think they've got anything right yet.
Only one club in English football history has ever won the league with a back 3. Do you know who it is?
Chelsea under Conte.
Exactly. Nobody else has ever done it. And they changed that because of a necessity after a 3-0 defeat.
Was that like just a little way of you getting your team in?
Just that's why I mentioned it.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.